All right, hello everybody. So, what is it? It's February 16th, 2023. Ask Me Anything, as usual, for Thursdays. And, I don't know, my wife Emily hasn't been on in quite some time, but for the last couple weeks when I've posted the, post your thoughts, topics, and questions, there's been more and more requests to have Emily back on. I think this is maybe your third time.
I think that's right.
On an Ask Me Anything. And so, ask and you shall receive. We've got Emily here, and the Linchpin community gave her some cool questions, so we'll run through the most upvoted questions. She'll speak candidly, and we'll have a blast, and that'll be about it. Background. What's your background? What's your bio?
She just put me on the spot like that. I was a Division I gymnast. I was a gymnast for 18 years. Went to the CrossFit Games in 2013 and 2014. Have 3 children. Now I'm just a mom that works out in my garage.
And that's that.
And that's that.
Scoot in a little bit here. I'll stand behind you.
Okay.
So let's see. The first most upvoted question was a humorous one from John W., but it's the most upvoted one. What's Pat's PR for eating cookies in one sitting? I will say, and I've been very honest about this, I have a tremendous sweet tooth. I love treats and sugar and cookies, and our son actually made some chocolate chip cookies himself the other day. They came out...
He forgot one ingredient.
They
didn't really rise.
Aesthetically, they look a little weird, but I bet they taste really good, and I've somehow kept myself from eating them, so it's challenging. Okay. First most upvoted question for Emily is from Mel J. It's about mom guilt. Dads don't have any guilt. Here we go, mom guilt. Question for Emily. Emily, do you ever get mom guilt, and how do you deal with it? I know it's important to put your health and fitness first, and that it sets a good example with your kids. That being said, do you ever feel guilty for taking an hour for yourself to work out?
So, yes, I will say for sure. I don't work out for a full hour anymore. I would say.
I'm glad you said. I was going to say, in all honesty, I couldn't tell you the last time she was in the garage for an hour.
I think I've set the record straight there. I typically am in there 30 to 40 minutes. Back when I was training for the games, I typically was in there a lot longer, but I don't anymore. Usually, like we did the 30-minute workout on Tuesday. I think that's the longest I've been in there in quite some time. And I used to feel a lot more guilty when the boys were little. I'd be lying if I said I didn't. But I think my perspective has changed as they're older, and so I see that they're okay, they're fine, they're not having any sort of like long-term resentment for me working out when they were little, so I don't have that same kind of guilt with Lane. But I think life has changed, so I have a really hard time working out on the weekends right now, so I've had to adjust my schedule a little bit, that I typically work out Monday through Friday, but there's times where I need a rest day on Thursday, so I end up only working out 4 days a week. Because on the weekends, we really truly are so busy with our boys. They've become little athletes themselves. And so
there's a lot of running around.
There is. Between the 2 boys, they both play on their local school select team and then for an AAU team. So on any given weekend, we have between the 2 boys 12 to 16 basketball games. Their AAU team is an hour away. So we're all over the place. Our Saturdays and Sundays are filled from 6 a.m. until sometimes 9 p.m. So it would be really selfish of me, I guess, if we couldn't go to those things simply because I needed to find my 1 hour during the day to work out. It's just our focus is a little bit on them and what they want to accomplish as athletes as well. So, I try to stick that day in during the week, but if it doesn't happen, I also give myself grace, knowing that I have years of fitness to build on, and I have a future of fitness to build on. This is just a period of time. One workout, if I skip it every now and again, is just not going to hurt me.
And truth be told, one workout, if you miss it every now and then, isn't going to hurt you unless you're eating like a drunken pirate every single day, then yeah, you're going to notice that. But if you're trying to eat relatively clean most of the time and you miss a workout here or there, I think you've got a lot wider of a strike zone than people realize, because you're not just, having a terrible lifestyle other than that time in the gym. So how in the world, when most people watching are like, wow, she's in and out of the gym in 30 minutes, that I'm not, what's your secret, Emily?
Don't do what I do, right? I'm not I don't warm up a lot. I definitely don't do a cool down. There are moments in time when that certainly catches up with me. I'm definitely feeling some things. I've got terrible elbows right now. I know that sounds a little silly, but they kill me. So that piece is definitely taking its toll. I know as I get older, that's going to have to change. Time waits for no one. It will catch up with me, but I typically get in and get out with very little to no warm up. If I'm doing a strength day, I do warm up.
Yeah, fair.
But my strength days look nothing like his. He will go for like a true whatever max. I don't push myself quite that hard. I'm like okay with whatever I got for that day, whatever felt okay. And I do not rest for long periods of time in between my sets, like I know that I should, to give myself ample recovery time. So I guess in some regards, perhaps I shortchanged myself a little bit, but then I remind myself like I'm okay walking around as a regular human being.
Well, that's a great point, right? I mean, okay, let's I'm not sure that you are shortchanging yourself, but let's say for a second that you are. Have you in any way, shape, or form been faced with some physical task that you have not been able to do on planet Earth?
I have not.
Right.
I have not yet been stopped.
Right. So
and I think my perspective on fitness has also changed. I think when the boys were younger, I would have really not liked to be interrupted. When I was getting workout, I had to look a certain way. The intensity had to be a certain way. And now Lane comes into the gym with me from time to time. I try not to bring her out there too often. She's not the easiest child. So, but when she's out there, it just happens. And, I have to stop a lot, help her with things, or make sure she's not going to hurt herself. So it just looks a lot different, and now I'm okay with it. So I guess just experience, third child, you just let some things go. But I empathize. That mom guilt or parent guilt is very real, especially whatever phase of life you're in. It can be very challenging.
How old is Lane? She's 20 months, right around there?
Almost 20 months.
Almost 20 months.
Yes, okay. Almost 20 months.
Getting easier by the minute. Okay, let's see. The next most upvoted question was from your time at the 2014 CrossFit Games Northwest Regionals. Evan M. says that he was at the regionals watching, and he watched you pick everyone else apart on the floor. What was it that year in the programming that put the regionals on easy mode for you? So I called up the events from that year to refresh your memory here. So let's see. So on that year, 2014, where did you finish regionals?
I finished first at regionals that year.
I actually couldn't remember. That wasn't a setup. I couldn't remember. See, but I'll show you how our marriage is fair. Watch, ready. Where did I place at the 2009 games?
I don't know.
Exactly. All right, so you finished first at regionals.
I finished first at regionals. I don't know. I feel like when the events kept getting released that year, I just felt like I got very lucky.
So let's see. Event number 1, that was the heavy 1 rep max, and it was a 1 rep max hang squat snatch.
Yes, and so of all the strength lifts, I'm definitely strongest from a hang position, and I'm the strongest at snatching. So that just happened to fall into the wheelhouse of something that I'm actually good at, because if it had been like a 1 rep max deadlift, I would have started the weekend probably in 30th. And then it was followed by a max distance handstand walk, which in 2014, gymnastics was still a really challenging thing for most athletes. So so many of these things were really heavy gymnastics oriented, and they've been stuff that I'd done for years and years. So without really having to put in a massive amount of training, I just was able to fall back on all the stuff that I had done basically my whole life. So just, I very much lucked out. The legless rope climbs.
I was going to say, well, let's go. Event number 3 was disgusting. Nasty Girls version 2. So that was 3 rounds for time of 50 pistols, which were one-legged squats, 7 ring muscle-ups, and then 10 hang power cleans at 175 for the men and 115 for women. How was that one for you?
That one was okay. I'm actually not great at muscle-ups. I don't know. Sometimes they're good, sometimes they're bad. But the pistols are okay. They always, again, had been. But the hang power cleans, again, that was something that I knew I could hang on to the barbell no matter what. And I had learned from the year prior, too, that I just couldn't look around and pay attention to anyone else's pace. I just had to do my own thing because I knew there were places in almost every workout that I could make up time on my competitors because of the gymnastics stuff.
So before we go to event 4, I see a live question, so we'll hit this from Shelly. Emily, do you do handstand push-ups anymore?
I do. I don't like to do kipping handstand push-ups, and I don't do those very often. They hurt my actual skull more than anything and make me a little bit dizzy, so I tend not to do those. I will do strict handstand push-ups. Those are okay, and those don't hurt. Going upside down is not a big deal. But yeah, I don't like the fast stuff. Strict
as your friend. So event number 4 has handstand push-ups in it. So event number 4, regionals that year, 21:15.963 of strict handstand push-ups. Right there. That's a no from me, dog. Front squats and burpees. And the front squats were 195 for men and 125 for women. I haven't seen these events in so long. First of all, the handstand push-ups.
Well, that was the first time I think that they had programmed a strict handstand push-up, so that was a big deal.
But that's also, that's
a
huge volume of a heavy front squat. A 21:15.963 after the strict handstand push-ups and the burpees. That's a beast. So how did that one go?
It went okay. That was heavy for me. I had to mentally dig deep, and I did hang on to the bar the whole time because honestly, it was more work to get that thing back up.
So you did.
So I did all of the front squats unbroken. The strict handstand push-ups, I did not. Now there was a woman, a competitor, who she did like everything unbroken. She won that workout, but her handstand push-ups were incredible. But again, there just wasn't that many people that could do it. So, I think I finished second in that workout.
I was going to say, I bet that one shook up the leaderboard.
I'm
with
sure.
that many handstand push-ups in the front and the heavy front squat and whatever the time cap was.
Right.
I bet there were some people who were doing really well going into that and then went, kerplunk. Event number 5, 10 rounds of 1 legless rope climb and a 200-foot sprint. I feel like it probably should say 200-foot jog.
That's what it was.
But 10 rounds of 1 legless rope climb.
I knew when this event was released that I would have this one in the bag because of the 2013 games. I was one of the few athletes that was almost able to complete that workout. I think there was a handful that did complete it, and then I was a few short, maybe 2 rope climbs short of finishing that workout. And I just knew who was in my region and that one would be easy and fine for me so long as I didn't try to do a sprint and then try to get back on the rope too fast. So I just kept my composure, kept my own pace, and that one was fine.
And event number 6 was a nasty chipper, a whole bunch of 50s of various things. It was a 50-calorie row, 50 box jump overs, 50 deadlifts, 50 wall balls, 50 ring dips. There's a wonderful set. And then you go back down, 50 wall balls, 50 deadlifts, 50 box jump overs, and finally 50 calories in the rower. And the deadlift weight was 180 for the men and 120 for the women.
I was really worried about that workout.
I don't think a lot of people finished that worldwide.
I don't think so. And I don't remember how I placed on that workout, but I did not win that workout. I don't even think I came in the top 3. But But wherever I finished, I was really happy with, because wall balls and even deadlifts at 120 and it ended up being 100. That is
50.
not something that I'm good at. Deadlifts just destroy me. They mess with me mentally. So I was very happy with how I performed on that. And I think the reason I was able to hang towards the top was the ring dips.
I was going to say, I remember that being a separator.
I think that was a breaker, yeah.
And so getting through the ring dips was a big deal.
Right.
And then the final event number 7, just a one time through, 64 pull-ups, and then 8 overhead squats. 205 pounds for men, 135 for women.
Yeah, I was very excited about that workout. I, again, knew that I would be able to do very well. I'm strong overhead. I almost think my overhead squat and my front squat at the time were nearly equal. My overhead squat might have even been stronger than my front squat, which is
Makes
odd.
no sense at all.
I can't remember exactly what I did, but I knew I was just going to go for broke. There was nothing to hold back on, and I think I know I won that workout, and I think I just took one break on the pull-ups, if I remember correctly. So split those in half, and then finished the overhead squats, and
so it went
well. Fun. Yes, that was
well.
A fun weekend.
And then you went to the games, and I think finished 13th at the games, and so you competed in 2013, 2014.
It's been almost 10 years. That's crazy.
I know, right? And then this wasn't one of the questions, but maybe we'll... why not try again? Did life get busy, or just what was the deal?
Life got busy. I also was starting to burn out. I knew that when I walked into the competitive world, I was not going to be a lifetime competitor. Kind of already been there, done that. I had a full-time job. I had 2 young children. 2015, I went through a divorce. So my focus just needed to shift, and, taking care of my boys and providing for my household was just the number one priority. And I just didn't want to put the hours in the gym anymore. I just was kind of done.
Mm-hmm. Allow me to potentially throw you under the bus live on camera.
Great.
Was 2014, we all know that the base of the pyramid of the theoretical hierarchy of the development of an athlete is nutrition. Was 2014 the year that you showed up to regionals with a Snickers bar and an air mattress, or was that 2013?
I think that was 2013. And no, I had like a cooler of chocolate milk as well, like a little thing. Yeah, and I remember, I don't know, someone was trying to push like some salads on me or something. I was like, I cannot eat like this. I'm going to get sick.
Give me the Snickers bar.
Yes. Self-admittedly, I think in 2014 I ate out of like, I don't know, a gas station. It was my nutrition. It was terrible. It was terrible. I also wonder how well I could have performed if I actually put the time and effort and energy into that aspect of it. There's only so many hours in the day.
I was going to say, we'll move on to the next question, but that's also something that we touch on every now and then, right? Because every kid wants to be in the NBA or the NFL. Every person who does CrossFit, not every person, I'm over-exaggerating, but I'm going to go to the games and all that. But the truth is, some people are just different. She's just born differently than I was, period, end of story. There's just not a lot of human beings that are going to literally show up, like she just said, eating out of a gas station with a cooler of chocolate milk and win regionals. Like, it's just not going to occur. And so, when you watch people at the games or watch people at whatever the pinnacle of every sport is, you're seeing some unique individuals throw down, and it's entertaining for us normal folks to watch.
Now, I'm trying to instill something different in our children, because I will say, we just experienced this with our younger boy. He did not fuel himself properly and completely and utterly crashed during the final game of a basketball tournament, so much so that he couldn't play, and he's their starting point guard, and they ended up losing, which is a shame, because I think he really let his team down. But I mean, there's a perfect example of there was nothing for him to pull out because he did not put anything in the tank. So
bad on us as the parents. But we try. Every now and then we have a swing and a miss. This is real life. All right, next most upvoted question from Jewel L. Basically wants to know, what's your favorite either CrossFit workout or movement?
Grace is my favorite CrossFit workout.
I don't think I knew that.
Hang cleans or clean and jerk, as long as it's not squat, is my favorite. I like high rep, like high volume clean and jerks.
Well, it's a good high volume clean and jerk story is, so there was, what was that story? Basically, you didn't have any gear to work out in your garage. There was a local competition in the area that if you won the competition, you were going to get a set of nice competition bumper plates and a barbell, which she very much needed. So she's like, well, I should probably go win this competition so that I can get this stuff. And so just on a whim, rolls out. And what was that clean and jerk finale deal?
I can't remember exactly, but it was
Grace.
Grace.
Times.
Yep, and I think you had like a minute 30 between each Grace, and the weight went up. So it started like 65
for women,
80, 95, I think. And you had to do it 3 times, and it was winner takes all. And I just remember almost wanting to vomit, but I was like, I have to win this. It was brutal.
So even to this day, as a, identifying yourself as a more casual recreational athlete, I still feel like you have the ability to flip that switch if you so desire. Like if for whatever reason you decide it's important, you'll all of a sudden really put yourself in the hurt locker. Whereas I think these days, I feel that fire burning, I let off the accelerator, I'm like, no, I'm good. I think
I do that often as well.
All right, let's see. Next most upvoted question. This is kind of two people asking relatively the same thing about CrossFit during pregnancy and then after. So I'll read the two, and we'll just kind of combine them. So from Ashley S., her question was, when you were pregnant, how did you gauge which movements and workouts were okay for you to do? I feel like most doctors think CrossFit is unsafe, etc., etc. What was your experience during pregnancy? And then Erica's question was, how did you approach recovering and working out postpartum? So during pregnancy and then postpartum, what was your experience?
So for all 3, well, I didn't really work out the way that I worked out now with my oldest. I started CrossFit when he was 4 months old. But with the other 2 pregnancies, I worked out all the way through. And with both of them, I just used discomfort as my guide. And there were things that I had to cut out really early, things that I think I was a little bit surprised that it came so early for me. I could not run, honestly, by about 15 weeks. It just was so uncomfortable. So I think for both pregnancies, that caught me off guard a little bit.
And that varies per woman, right? Because I've heard stories of other women running way into pregnancy, and other people, it obviously is just discomfort.
Right. And I think that's why I struggle a little bit with the guides of like, you should do this, you shouldn't do this, because I do think it is so different for every human. It's different for what your background in fitness is. It's different for, I don't know, where that baby is sitting and how that baby is growing and developing, how it makes your body feel. So that was my guide for me. It worked both times that I did it, even at, I was pregnant at 40.
And you never wanted to be profoundly out of breath.
No, yeah. And I always made sure that I could have a conversation during my workouts. I learned that I did not do that great when I was pregnant with Nash. I remember I trained at a CrossFit gym then, and our trainer at the time was like, you can't go that intense anymore, because I still was trying to push that a little bit too much. So we did some things where I turned around and I couldn't work out next to certain people because I would just naturally start to want to go too fast. So, she was really helpful in slowing me down. But that was my experience during pregnancy. With doctors, I don't know, my last 2 doctors seemed to very much support what I was doing. They knew that I was healthy and had been doing it for a long time, so they didn't really question what I was doing, just told me to keep doing what I was doing, that I obviously knew how to do it. Mm-hmm. So they were quite supportive in me doing CrossFit the whole time.
And then postpartum,
again, I kind of went by feel. I obviously went slow. I started moving my body with Lane 3 days after she was born. I felt absolutely awful. I remember crying, like, I'm sitting here doing nothing. Like, I can't just sit here. I feel so bad. So he was like, just go into the garage and move your body. It's not a workout. Just start moving. And I immediately, within a week, felt way better. And so from there, I just started slowly building on what felt comfortable, and really paid attention to how I felt afterwards. And with honestly, with all three of the kids, the fitness part came back pretty easily and pretty quickly. The thing that was different with Lane is I really struggled with postpartum depression. She was such a horrifically challenging child in a way that I was not prepared for.
It's a kind way to put it.
Something I had never been through. I'd never been around a child like her. So you throw, it's been so disruptive to our lives. We've got 2 older boys who are going. We took a trip to Montana because they had a lacrosse tournament. I think Lane was 5 days old. Life just kept going. And then so she was disruptive in that way. And then she was so colicky. We could not put that girl down. She screamed from the moment that she woke up till the moment she went to bed, all day, every day.
It's not an exaggeration.
For at least 4 solid months. And then she was a discontented human being until she was about 13 months old, is when things slowly started to get better. So that took a massive hit on my mental health, it very much caught me off guard. So when you talk about nutrition and that sort of thing, that was something I completely threw out the window. I couldn't even put that on my plate to have it be something that I could worry about. I got into the gym, but I ate whatever I wanted, whenever I wanted, because I just couldn't do it all. She was so tough. I think we're slowly climbing out of that. I think it did a number on our family for the first solid year, though. That was really hard. And I had to give myself grace. If I only worked out 3 days, then that's all that I did. And I was okay with that, because there were days where I was like, when she was calm or we switched out, I needed that time to just sit there and clear my head. Mm-hmm. So it was very eye-opening. And I think it made me very empathetic and compassionate to families that are going through that and have those difficult children. And I think unless you've had one, you can't really understand what's going on.
It's like she was possessed by the devil. I mean, it was
brutal.
I'm not saying that she was fussy. That's not what we're saying. She was on fire every day. But, yep, that's my girl. Holy cow. What was I just going to say? You know what a lot of it was as well was, don't worry about doing a perfect workout. Like, who cares? Like, do something. So if you just have to drag the dumbbells into the house and do some broken, disjointed, because you're doing 28 other tasks, and when you get back over, you do some more single leg deadlifts, and you do something else, you get back over, you do some bent over rows, whatever it was, if you had to stop and start, if you got something in, awesome. And if to make that happen, you knew that your warm-up was going to be terrible, well, then you just grabbed a lighter set of dumbbells, and okay, it wasn't, quote-unquote, the prescribed limited equipment option. Who cares? You did something, and it was rough. It was a rough time.
Yeah, and I think, much like I said before, there are phases in life where your workouts just look very different. So there might be something on paper, and then you change it to something that looks, has maybe the same movements or maybe not, but you're just moving your body. And sometimes it is just for your mental health, not so much your physical health.
I was going to say, in a weird way, here's my charitable view on it in the rearview mirror. If I had to paint it in a positive light, not the colic, that was terrible, but the working out, the tons of modifications, the dragging dumbbells into the house, in some way, it was freeing, because I do have that mindset of got to do it as it is on the paper, and even if I scale it or modify it, like I'll do it only the minimum scale of modification that I can. Well, during this time, it was way scaled, way modified, most of the time. Not every now and then, but most of the time. and learning to let go of that, it's got to be a certain way, and to give myself a wider strike zone, more grace, more freedom, and to see, in all honesty, not just have that be good for my mental health, but I'm sure my fitness didn't significantly advance during that period of time, but I was fine. I was great. Like, nothing bad happened to my fitness. I was still in phenomenal shape compared to the regular human being, and so it was eye-opening.
That made me remember too. Forgotten. Lane didn't take a bottle. She wouldn't.
Or a pacifier.
I was tied to that child 24/7 for 1 calendar year. So there were times where I would try to slip into the garage and then feel like the baby's hungry. And there was no one else could do anything for her. So, I mean, it was so taxing. So if you're in that phase of life,
our hearts go out to you.
Yes, and I promise at some point it does get better. It does break. That very difficult child will come around. I promise.
But do something.
Yeah.
I mean, something's better than nothing. And even if you only have 10 minutes, do, 10 minutes of burpees. Do death by dumbbell thrusters where there's a built-in warm-up. Do something just, again, if not for your physical health, but your mental health as just a stress relief so that you don't spiral into some place, because movement is medicine. Okay. 2 more questions here. This next one, I guess it's just your opinion here. This is from Elisa B. Question for Emily. Do you think the no glide kip rule for bar muscle-ups in CrossFit is a good choice? Say someone has absolutely mastered the quote-unquote normal kipping bar muscle-up. How would that differ from the glide kip? So how would you explain what's the glide kip and why is it cool or desirable?
The glide kip, your feet would come all the way out to parallel, then you'd bring your toes back to the bar and kind of use that momentum to get up to the top. I guess I've never thought about it. I guess the reason that rule probably exists is because if you do have that background, you can turn those into something that are so easy, I think. Perhaps it becomes a little bit unfair. And I think at the top of a glide kip too, when you've got that kind of momentum, because it's a different body position, you're not really ever finishing unless you make a very definitive point to finish with your hips on the bar. You kind of would have an empty space and just go back down.
Oh,
so
interesting.
I think that's probably just to make sure that everything, you can see it much easier when you're doing a normal kipping bar muscle up.
And who knows, but there are some things which are done in the land of competition solely to make judging easier.
Yeah, I have to imagine that's probably the root of that.
And it's not because one movement's better or worse. I've said this before. If you ask me which is a better and more effective movement, if I had to choose only one for the rest of my life, knees to elbows, true knees to elbows, or toes to bar, like what requires more, flexion in the midline to get your hips up higher, like knees to elbows are far more challenging. There's more lat engagement in there, but they're so much harder to judge. You're not going to see them in competition, so they're going to go with, in my opinion, a slightly, not inferior, but again, if I had to choose the most effective one for training, give me knees to elbows every day of the week. You want to see a nightmare of judging? Knees to elbows would be a nightmare of judging. And so toes to bar are way easier. Your feet go behind the bar in the back. Bong! You hear both feet hit the bar. Good rep. It's like knees to elbows. Was that knees to triceps? Were they really close to? That's a nightmare. So it could be that with the bar muscle up.
I bet that's probably it. I think that would be a tough one to judge.
And also, that's just a competition versus training, right? So if competition has to have some rules arbitrarily placed in there for the sake of rules, and if you're going to participate in that competition, okay, you need to abide by them. But when you're doing bar muscle-ups in your garage, you're free to do them however you want. You want to do glide kip? Glide away. It's totally your call. Okay, final most upvoted question from Veronica S. from the BTWB squad. How often do the two of you work out together versus separately? And when it's together, How do you manage having to share equipment without getting in each other's way? I'm usually so far ahead of her on workouts that I'm just done, and then she can do whatever she wants. So, no, go ahead.
I think we, for the most part, work out separately. Time constraints, for what each of us has going on in any given day. Also, I think we very much like that time in the garage by ourselves. We listen to different music. He likes to listen to podcasts. I could not do that while I work out.
She has hype music on.
Yeah, I do. I like teeny bopper, like hype music. I don't know. That's each of our just alone time, our mental time to do our own thing. Every once in a while we will work out together. But I think, you often scale. And so if we do happen to run into each other, he's usually like, you can go first.
That's exactly what I was going to say. I'm not too proud to say that is, I'm in a place with my workouts where I take my health and my fitness and longevity like profoundly seriously. Our youngest child is only 20 months old. So I've got a lot of years left to be active and capable and competent in our kids' lives. And so I know my health and fitness is critical to that. But I also realize I'm not going to mess that up by having to burn down every workout. That's not how it works. So if we're both in the gym and we're both going for the pull-up bar at the same time, I'll be like, you got it, take it. And I'll rest 15 to 20 seconds while you do your pull-ups. And I don't care that the clock is continuing to run. Whoop-de-doo. It's not going to negatively affect my fitness in any way, shape, or form. So I welcome the rest. And that's kind of been that.
The only reason I would be burning a workout down is because I want to get in and out of the gym as fast as possible. So that's...
Yeah, I think that's about it. So, yeah, that's all the questions you guys put out there. We genuinely appreciate it. I've got a couple Linchpin shout-outs, and then we'll roll out of here. So the first Linchpin shout-out I have is from Levi A. Levi's got a couple, but he deserves it. He's not only a great Linchpin member, but he's dragged his father, who's north of 60 years old, into his garage. Dad's pulling awesome deadlifts and stuff like that, so Levi's changing the world. And then he posted a little while ago that not only did he have his father in there, but his father-in-law as well came in and joined him. And his father-in-law is a former smoker, quit a couple years ago, has COPD, he's overweight, and he's working out to lose weight for a hip replacement, but he showed up, and today was his first day. So, I mean, Levi in his garage is absolutely just getting work done. So keep it up, man. And then we've got Elisa B was one of the questions today, and she's one of the shout-outs as well. So she said hello, just to introduce herself in the Private Track Facebook group, and she had a cool picture of her working out in her living room. So she is in the Netherlands, if I believe, correct? Yep, Netherlands. Doesn't have a garage, so made it happen in the living room. And her boyfriend can still go overhead in there as well, and though she's crushing it. And she says she fell in love with everything Linchpin from listening to the podcast, as well as the very not random ones during her commute. So it's really cool to hear that. So that's it. Appreciate it. Well, we're going to keep doing these things. I'm sure we'll have Emily back on in a few months or whatnot. So enjoy your rest day, everybody. And we'll talk later.